So a few things to consider when dealing with images and or videos, um, and to kind of go to take a slight step back. Um, Everything we've talked about so far, these are things that you like. It can be a little overwhelming to make sure they're all in place all at once. So it takes a little bit of time to get there. So allow yourself the time to make the changes. I think knowing is half the battle, and then starting to work forward is the best way to go. If you try to put it all in place at once, it'll become overwhelming. But hopefully, you'll start to work and learn, and experiment. You'll make mistakes, and you'll grow. So. Um, the next thing is kind of applying alternate text for various images. A good example here is I have an owl on the right hand side. What would happen if a screen reader came through this presentation? It would land here, and it may or may not know what that is, depending on if I assigned it alternate text. So if I'm adding images into such things as Brightspace, I have the ability, as soon as I upload an image, it'll pop up and say, hey, is this alternate text? And if so, what is the alternate text? If not, then it's probably a decorative image, so I can just click decorative image and then click OK. The difference would be if I assign it a decorative image, screen reader will just bypass it. If I assign alternate text, the screen reader will read that information. So I could actually put some type of descriptive image or alternate text here that says female snowy owl sitting on top of a tree, if that was important to the learning, if you will. There are some images that you'll put in that are just purely decorative, and for a screen reader to actually stop and kind of read that information may actually be annoying for the learner, that type of thing. Also, if possible, name the file with a small description. And the only reason I bring that up is like if I place an image, like insert an image in a lot of tools, and I don't assign it some type of alt image or don't notate it as being decorative, a screen reader will actually come through and say, oh, well, what are the properties of this image? And quite often it ends up reading the file name if it was kind of inserted. So if it's got a weird file name, that might also cause the screen reader to be a little off. So the other thing is when it comes to more complex images. Just taking a look at this is obviously an older image because we refer to D2L, but we used this at one point in time to kind of talk about how information is passed between PeopleSoft and D2L. There's this course schedule involved, faculty signed and whatnot. So this is actually a very complex image, and alt text only holds so many characters. I can't quite remember exactly how many characters they off the top of my head, but I know it's limited. So sometimes you have to put some consideration in where is that information going to be stored. The other thing is let's say you've got an image, but yet what is being described within the image is actually then redescribed in the content. So if I had this image at the top and then as you kind of read through, it describes the process, I wouldn't actually need to assign any alternate text to this image if that information is contained within the context. If it's not, then I might have to consider additional documentation. I might need to attach some type of link to a PDF file or a Word file that would kind of describe what's happening here. That way a screen reader would know and it could kind of launch the image or the file. Another thing about video and audio considerations or audio and video considerations is very similar to that alt text, where I have something that's a little bit more descriptive, a little bit more complicated. What you're really doing in that situation is providing a transcript. You might need to do that, if you're kind of creating audio or if you're creating a video, And you might discover there are some tools, depending on the tool that you're working with, especially if you've kind of scripted out your PowerPoint, you could just kind of produce another copy that would be either a Word document or a PDF that would have the notes printed out for the learner. Whoops. More things about video considerations, especially when working in something like Brightspace. Consider using the embedded code as compared to just putting in the link. This is what the link would look like. But if I embed it, then it'll kind of appear here. I could actually click this right now. It might run, but I'm not going to. It just, again, it allows becomes a little bit more engaging for the student to see it as compared to a link. They might bypass a link, but they might click on an image or the embedded one to get it launched. Plus, screen readers can deal with that a little bit easier as well. Plus, the other thing about a screen reader, I'll get back to that later. But so that's one of the considerations. Consider using an embedded code. Also search for, like for instance, if there's like here's an example where I have something on snowy owls. So when I did the search, I think, these 3 items came up. But when I kind of researched it and I added CC to the Google search, that sounds weird, or under videos and looked under closed captioning, under tools, it actually identified which videos came with closed captioning. So you might use that as consideration. You might see 2 separate videos, one that is good, the second one might not be as good, but it has closed captioning. Will it still serve the purpose? And it will allow anybody that needs to rely on closed captioning, provide that option instantly. So while you're in YouTube, you can add CC as part of your search, and while in Google's, just look for tools and look for closed captioning. Another consideration is, is there a described video option? Not as easy to come by, but something to consider. And as always, consider copyright.